one of the things that Alois said, one of the things that might be most helpful for this group is to talk a little bit about the differences, because I respect Mr. King and his service, but there are some really very significant differences between the two of us and the way we would approach the Office of Attorney General. Now recall that I come from the Jeff Sessions Bill Pryor School of Attorney General. I believe people need to be honest, have integrity, be fearless in the enforcement of the rule of law. Those people set the example, and they set a standard in the Office of Attorney General here in Alabama that was unsurpassed in the United States of America. I say that without fear of any contradiction. First thing I believe is you should surround yourself with the very best people, the most conservative, intelligent lawyers in the state of Alabama. Unfortunately now, we have, as the Chief of Staff of our Attorney General's office, a press secretary. And it's the principal chief deputy, someone who was in college a couple of years ago, who has no law enforcement experience whatsoever, who is highly paid and has to check off on every indictment, everything the Attorney General does. Press secretary and a former intern. They replaced Richard Allen. If you don't know who Richard Allen is, he's the head of our prison system now. He was the principal deputy Attorney General of the state of Alabama. He's a general in the Army, Vietnam veteran, top student in his class at the University of Alabama School of Law, former Senate aide, and former managing partner of one of the finest law firms in the state of Alabama. We've gone from that to a press secretary, making the calls with the Attorney General. I will surround myself with the very best, the cream of the crop in the state of Alabama to run the office. Secondly, I got where I am because I was lucky enough to have a work ethic and I grew to be 6'9". That's a good combination if you can use it to play basketball and put yourself through school. But I learned teamwork. I was lucky to be a counselor when I was growing up. I looked for every job I could get, and I was a counselor at Camp Bear Bryant. Coach Bryant had a summer camp, and I was his counselor. We learned his values, and we tried to pass them on to these young kids. And I worked as a summer counselor for Dean Smith, who was the big head coach at the University of North Carolina when I was playing basketball in college. I learned from those guys a lot of things, but mainly the huge importance of teamwork. We're all Republicans here. We know where we stand, even though we may disagree every once in a while. The Attorney General may disagree with the governor from time to time. He may disagree with the district attorney from time to time. But we cannot have a situation where the district attorneys and the Attorney General have no relationship and cannot work together. That's the current situation we have. I've been endorsed by the Republican district attorneys in virtually every Republican county in this state. There's a reason for that. They want someone that will work with them, and that's what I promise to do. And I promise to work with the next governor of the state, who will be a Republican. You heard it here first. I will work with that governor. Now, do I disagree occasionally on whether or not something is a good idea, whether it's lawful? The role of the Attorney General, remember now, is not to decide what he or she thinks is the best policy for the state of Alabama. Not to do what his or her friends think might be helpful to their particular interest. It's to enforce the law, regardless of how they feel about it personally. We cannot have a situation where the Attorney General is unable to enforce the law. We have a situation now, and you remember, this is another difference. I will not put myself in a situation where I'm compromised to the extent that I cannot participate in a major investigation. That's a difference. The biggest public corruption scandal in the state of Alabama in the last 25 years, Bradley Byrne here's Exhibit A of the person whose lap it was dumped in, is the 2-year college scandal. Our Attorney General, because he asked for a favor from the very person he was investigating, person who should be going to jail in the next 3 months, he was recused from any involvement in that case whatsoever. So the Attorney General, Chief Law Enforcement Officer, was unable to participate in the biggest public corruption scandal in the state of Alabama. It went to Richard Minor, the DA in St. Clair County, who already has a full plate to take on that case. And Richard has endorsed me in this race. I was with him last night.